And if the U.S. and Israel start these decapitation strikes again, assassinations of Iranian leadership, what could Iran do then? Assassinate the monarchs. Mohammed bin Zayed becomes a target. The Al Khalifa family becomes a target. Their defense ministries become targets. It's tit for tat. And it's not me saying this. It is a member of the Iranian negotiation delegation that was in Islamabad who's openly saying, this is what will happen next. This is the price. Well, this is in Farsi, so our Farsi speakers will understand. Farsi speakers. This is how Mohammed Morandi summarizes it. Iranian MP and member of the negotiation delegation, Mahmoud Nabhavian, states that if Iranian leaders are assassinated in any attack, all of the complicit despots in the Persian Gulf will be killed and their palaces destroyed. So I think there's more that Iran can do here. And Trump doesn't seem to understand this. He also is avoiding democratic accountability in the US. After the Vietnam War, a new rule was imposed by Congress that the president, after 60 days of conflict, has to go back to Congress for authorization. And what Trump is saying is Project Freedom is just a humanitarian gesture. Those are his words, a humanitarian gesture, which means that the conflict has not restarted. He's using all kinds of deceptive language to avoid congressional authorization, to avoid basically abiding by the Constitution. It's a deeply undemocratic war that's being waged. Pete Hegseth said that after the ceasefire was signed, after 39 days, that put the war on pause.
Yes.
No, the U.S. is still at war. So they're violating the Constitution. They're violating a longstanding congressional rule in order to restart a conflict which they claim has not begun again. It's just a gigantic lie.
I've never seen someone make this argument before that because the war's been on pause, and then therefore the war began more than 60 days ago, then that means that, like, the clock resets and they don't have to go seek congressional authorization. It's a novel argument. Whoever came up with it deserved the Creative Writing Award, not a legal one, but that's what they're going with. But Trump has to deal with gas prices now at a 4-year high. You have more Republican lawmakers who are hearing from their constituents that this is not good. They're worried about their re-election. Trump has to listen to them as much as he tries to make everything about himself. He has to at least pay attention to the fact that, members of his own caucus are now saying that this is threatening their re-election. So he's in a bind, but he doesn't have any answers because he's not willing to say to him that he lost, that he failed. And he's not willing to defy Israel yet, but at least not publicly. So he's just stalling for time and coming up with some new fake claims of this new operation to free the Strait, even though he's not even going to try to actually send in ships to fight Iran. So he's in a bind, and so now we're just in a waiting game to see how long he can stall for time for.
And these were such revealing comments by Trump about his priorities and how lost he is, how politically lost he is. I love the background here, golden years.
Look at this.
Hold on.
It's nonsense. Look at this. I'm talking about all these things you're getting, and you stand up when I talk about you can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. We can't. But I did something that was, I don't know, foolish, brave, but it was smart. I would do it again, but I thought the numbers would be much worse. I thought
it was foolish, brave, could have been smart. Whoever says I did something that was foolish and just launched this war, it shows how careless he is. Now listen to what he says next.
the stock market would go down much more. I thought the oil prices would go up much more. I said, but we have no choice. Whether it does or doesn't, I have to do what's right. It's nonsense. Look at this.
So oil prices, when he said that, were at the highest level since COVID. We're like $108 a barrel. The inflation rates are surging. stock market was another stock wipeout. And he's saying that he thought it would actually be worse, but he would have done it anyway, and that he did it just because it was the right thing to do. But he never made the case to the American public before February 28th about why he had to attack Iran. The entire decision was made in a Situation Room meeting where Netanyahu sat at the head of the table and Trump sat to the side, and Netanyahu and his Mossad director dictated to Trump, and Trump followed their orders to stage a surprise decapitation attack. And now he's saying, well, he thought it would actually be worse than it already is. That shows just how demented he is. And, his own base is getting hammered. I think the key here is fertilizer costs are surging. So much fertilizer passes through the Strait of Hormuz, and the costs are surging so much that farmers in Asia, Africa, Europe are going to be hit extremely hard, and some of them won't even have fertilizer. But in the US, this is eating into Trump's base in the heartland, the agricultural producer base that sent Trump back to this.
My family's farmed for 100 years. You don't want to be the one that can't keep it going,
I am a Republican. I voted for this administration, but my patience is running thin.
We're here in the heart of the Mississippi Delta to talk with farmers about how the war with Iran is impacting them.
Oh, it's been awful.
The closure of the Strait of Hormuz is causing prices to skyrocket, things like diesel fuel and fertilizer.
We're buying a little bit at a time. But sometimes we know that we've only got 2 weeks of fuel. So what has happened to us is not just the impact of 1 year. We have lost customers forever. They will never come back because we're deemed an unreliable supplier.
I'm paying 60% more for diesel fuel than I would have been paying 45 days ago.
You got to have diesel for everything. You got diesel to this, to plant, to harvest. So diesel steadily going up like this, man, it affects us bad.
You have no choice. You've got to go ahead and buy it no matter what the price is.
So they can't afford diesel, they can't afford fertilizer, they're completely screwed, and then we all pay the price in food prices at a time when inflation is surging.
But Trump thought it would actually be worse. I have the answer for these farmers. Let's just bring in the Israelis who made the desert bloom, right? Right, Israel, like before Israel came into Palestine, it was all just desert, and then all the ingenious Israelis, this is the Israeli myth goes, just made the desert bloom. So to compensate for, these farmers who just can't get by because they don't know how to, work the land like the Israelis. So let's just bring in the Israelis, because after all, this whole war is for them. For the Israelis surely have the answer to the woes that they've caused for American farmers.
Yeah. What did the Israelis do? Oh, yeah, they took over all of the orange groves in Jaffa and kicked the Palestinians out and made it bloom. Exactly. That worked out well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that indigenous teaching is not really transferable to the U.S. because there's no more land to colonize here. So, I don't know. The Israelis have to come up with some other idea to fix the woes that they caused, the mess that they caused. But it just, Trump has to be getting this message despite the insular shell he has around him. Some of this has to be sneaking through, and he's got no answers whatsoever. Absolutely none.
I actually think he believes his own bullshit. If you judge from his late night AI slop binges, he really believes he has all the cards. This is I feel like this is something like a late night, like Jimmy Kimmel could do this. Like, we don't need to do this at the Gray Zone. But it's gotten to the point where there's pretty much nothing else to say about Trump. He is a late night liberal blue anon punchline. Like, Blue MAGA turns out to be kind of right. The turbo lib boomers are basically right.
Yep.
Except about the part that negotiating with Russia is wrong.
And they were even right that he's a foreign asset doing a foreign power thing. They just and doing the bidding of their oligarchs. Again, it's just the wrong passport. It's Israeli, not Russian.
Max Blumenthal's discussion about Trump admitting that a war with Iran would be foolish and harmful to the economy highlights how dangerous and costly a major conflict in the Middle East could become. Rising oil prices, inflation, market instability, and the threat of wider regional escalation are already creating concerns around the world. In my view, Trump's statement reflects a growing recognition that military confrontation often creates economic and political consequences far beyond the battlefield. Sanctions, blockades, and war do not only affect governments, they also impact ordinary people through higher living costs, energy insecurity, and global financial uncertainty. Analysts and economists have repeatedly warned that prolonged conflict with Iran could damage both the U.S. economy and global markets. Whether people agree with Trump or not, his comments suggest that even within U.S. political circles there is increasing concern that escalation with Iran could spiral into a much larger crisis. Diplomacy and negotiation may ultimately be less destructive than another prolonged war in the region. What do you think about Trump's remarks and the growing economic impact of tensions with Iran? Share your personal opinion in the comments.
Take years, but it must